Teachers, happy Sunday. Hope everybody has had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And so, as you know, we are at that point again where we are focusing our attention on another instructional practice. But before I go into the details of this particular practice, I want you to know that this video or this particular topic of developing 21st century critical thinkers, this will take us through the end of March. And the reason for that is because this is going to be an 8-tier instructional practice that you won't really be able to implement like overnight, or you won't be able to implement all in 1 week or 2 weeks. So this is something that you're going to gradually and progressively integrate into your class. So again, so you won't receive another instructional video until the first week of April. And so I would like our focus to really be intentional through this last week of February and through those next 4 weeks of March to see if we can slowly integrate the components of this 8-tier system in. And so this particular focus is on developing 21st century critical thinkers. And so as you already know, we spent the first semester really just trying to really strengthen our lesson planning, strengthen the components that go along with that. And so this semester we've really been trying to really dive a little bit deeper into our cognitive knowledge. We wanted to dive a little bit deeper into our depth of knowledge, and we really wanted to be intentional in terms of the learning systems that are happening in our classrooms. And so this particular video is focused on developing 21st century critical thinkers. And it's an 8-tier process to that, and I want to jump right in, okay? So tier 1 is open-minded. So as your kids enter your classroom, one thing that we really want to do is we want to create an environment where they're open-minded. That means that we don't really want them to have a fixed mindset on things. We really want them to be open-minded so that there is room for like capacity building. Component number 2, I would like kids to engage in problem solving. So sometimes we tend to give a kid the answer before we give them the question. And so I really want us to be really intentional in terms of like how our question and answering techniques, whether you're using like Q&A techniques or whether you're using like Socratic techniques. But let's really make sure that our students are really engaged in problem solving. So you know what, like progressive struggle is a good thing. So it's okay if the kids are struggling with the question. It's okay if they're just not really getting it. Like let them struggle a little bit. It's academic muscle building, and it will build their capacity on the back end more so than the front end. Number 3, we need to make sure that we're helping kids analyze, reason, and evaluate. So that might require a lot of rhetorical questions. It may require some turn and talks. It might require some thinking, some pair and shares. But let's make sure that kids are analyzing, reasoning, and evaluating. So that might mean that, like, guess what? Like, you read the text one time and you didn't get it. Let's reread it. Let's see if we can go through and highlight all the things we know. Maybe we can highlight all the things we don't know, and then we can talk through some of those things. So kids having the skill or the ability to analyze and reason and evaluate, I think, will pay dividends not only in your class but also as they begin to prepare for their NCFEs and also for their ELCs. Number 4, collaborate with others. So again, some of you are doing a great job of this. As we walk around classrooms, I'm seeing some of you really allowing kids to work together in collaborative groups, into learning teams, student teams, and some of your kids are actually managing the teams, which is a component of one of the observation components. And so again, allow kids to collaborate with each other. To be honest, sometimes kids learn more effectively from each other in those collaborative settings. And so embrace that opportunity for your students. Number 5, reflect on learning. So after you've given that lecture, after you have given that amazing presentation, give kids not only a chance to respond on it, but give kids a chance to reflect on it. Like, how does this make you feel? What are you thinking now? You know, it's almost like that KWL system. Like, what did you know before we did it? What would you like to know? And what did you learn? And that kind of takes me into component 6 of making real world applications. So now that we have read this text, now that we have learned how these chemicals go together or how they don't go together, now that we have learned these periodic table elements, like, what is the real world connection to what we just learned, and how can you make it applicable into your everyday life? Number 7, think critically and creatively. So it's kind of like that learning system that I introduced you to a couple of weeks ago, Bloom's taxonomy. So it's like, okay, now I've lectured, I've taught it, you have worked together individually, you've been quizzed, you've been tested on it, you've been assessed on it. Now, like, think creatively and see how you can create me something. Like, so how can you make a product out of what you have learned? And number 8, communicate clearly and accurately. And so all of this, first of all, obviously we know that clear communication is important. So as you're giving these what we call in elementary world MVP directions, make sure that you're clear on what the expectations are for your kids. Make sure that you are that you're clear on expectations and clear on what it is that you would like them to accomplish. And I think from there it creates this environment in your classroom where not only are kids present physically, but even from a metacognitive perspective, like they're actually thinking about how they think, which makes them deeper thinkers and makes them more prepared for this 21st century. So let me run through these one more time. So the first thing, make sure your students are open-minded, and not only the students be open-minded, but make sure as instructors and as the experts of the subject matter in our classroom that we're open-minded. Number 2, engage in problem solving. Number 3, analyze, reason, and evaluate. Number 4, collaborate with others. Number 5, reflect on learning. Number 6, make real world applications. Number 7, think critically and creatively. And number 8, communicate clearly and accurately. Okay. So again, the focus on this is not only our focus for this week. I know we have some testing, ACC testing, so you might not be able to really dive into it. But this is the focus from this week and for the first 4 weeks, or the 4 weeks in March. So for the next 5 weeks, we're going to really be trying to immerse and integrate these critical thinking skills, because if we can get our kids thinking deeper, then when they have these assessments and these tests, then hopefully that might yield higher gains and higher performances on the test. Okay, so I know this video was like slightly a minute longer than typical, but it's only because this is a much larger instructional practice that we're trying to implement. All right, so thanks a lot. Let me know how I can help you in your classroom. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these tiers, and I am excited about where we're headed here at Charbel High School. Have a great day.